Hey everyone, it's Dr. Shiloh and Dr. Scott for
Hey folks.
LA Not So Confidential's Behind the Couch. Once a month now doing this. So thanks everyone for being here. Man, I feel like we were just here with Jamie Gearing, and here
Has
we
that
have...
been a month?
No, it hasn't been a whole month. It was like at the end of May. So it's only been a couple weeks, I think. But since then, we had our Hollywood walking tour that we did with our friend Chris over at CLA in a day. And a few people that are in this room right now came out with us, Tori and Laura. And we also had Patreon members Suki and Catherine and Shelby and Jessica join us. So it was a blast. We stopped at a bunch of different places and talked about not only true crime stuff, but paranormal stuff there as well, especially with all those theaters and just the layers of history on Hollywood Boulevard made for some really
just
cool
from
storytelling.
Walking, it was maybe 3/4 of a mile from end to end, and just
2 hours
tons
worth
of history.
Of stuff.
Yeah.
And stuff we couldn't even probably touch on. There'd probably be a part 2 that we could do like on the opposite side of the street or something, but it was...
And we're so excited to see people that live like literally just a few blocks away from Hollywood. I mean, or a half a mile, and to have some wonderful fans come from very far away to join in.
Yes.
And spend time with us, which we just really appreciated meeting all of you. But Tori and her husband that's like a blast. But everybody else that showed up was fantastic as well.
Yes, absolutely. New Patreon member, Scott?
Say it again.
New Patreon member. You want to announce who that is?
I do want to do that as soon as I find it, because I'm having some issues
early happy birthday. Dr. Scott's birthday is tomorrow, everyone.
Thank you. Yes, I'm very, very excited to be a year older. A big, huge one. Yes.
It is. Oh, man. Well,
okay.
Gemini twins, so...
Yes, Gemini. We are multiple personalities, the true multiple personalities. So again, I like, as I always say ad nauseum, I am still always surprised when we get more and more Patreon members. So Amy T, thank you so much for joining us and being part of the family. And then walking tour praises to Abby, who we finally got to meet in person. Hi, Abby. After all this time of seeing you online, it was really bizarre actually to see people in person, because it's not just from doing this project for as long as we have, but also with the weird isolation from COVID. So we got to meet Tori, Catherine, Shelby, got to see Suki again. We didn't lose Suki this time, like we lost her at Universal. We kept our eye on Suki. Thank you for staying in our line of sight. And also Jessica, thank you so much for showing up last, and we're going to do it again. And Shiloh and I have also talked about this, which is very exciting. When we do other locations, like when we go to Savannah and when we go to the Pacific Northwest, and we feel like the weather is going to support us, we definitely want to check out whatever live event tours that are already established there and extend that as a Patreon members or special event for our colleagues and our listeners. So stay tuned.
Oh my gosh, you and I need to jump on that and start doing some research.
Yeah.
For Dallas, for Savannah, for Washington.
No, I'll tell you right now, I ain't going nowhere in Dallas outside that hotel.
In Dallas in August, it's not going to be prime.
Hot.
Oh my gosh.
It's going to be brutal.
Come on. What kind of Southern boy are you?
We'll get a suite. We'll get a lovely suite, and we'll do a slideshow or something, and drink in the cool air conditioning. That's what we'll do.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I'm going to introduce our guest by reading a little bit of a bio for her. Kelsi, feel free to grab one of those spots. Hopefully it works for you. And we are going to be on the road with our show today. I'm so excited for this. Okay, so everyone, at only 24 years old, Kelsi Davies is a psychic medium who recently discovered that an ability to communicate with spirits on the other side runs deep in her family. She's committed to using her gifts for good by helping people connect with their deceased loved ones. She has also established herself as a multi-talented quadruple threat in the entertainment industry. This social media influencer, singer, dancer, and actress first gained notoriety with her YouTube channel, which showcased her love for the paranormal, of course. The highly successful channel, which has amassed over 620,000 followers, led her to expand her creative endeavors to TikTok, and her entertaining and insightful videos often feature her haunted doll, Lola. So we'll have to see if Lola makes an appearance today. And that has really earned her a huge fan base of over 4.7 million followers. So I can see that this thing is not cooperating with Kelsi. Kelsi, make sure you're using probably Google Chrome is the best. No problem. We will wait, see how it goes. Sometimes you have to go out, come back in, and then hit that little button to grab the spot. But you work that. We are so excited to welcome you when this starts working properly. I can see it's like letting you, and then it's like kicking you off. So,
yeah, you might just have to quit the browser and then open the browser again, which has to be Chrome. It can't be Safari or Explorer or anything. And then go back to Get Vocal. It's very glitchy. In fact, while you're figuring that out, just as an announcement, folks, as people who are listening to this, we have had a great time with Get Vocal over the past couple of years. And we just didn't, it was all such a new idea for us to be able to do these kind of live streams. But we didn't really, because we were such newbies, we didn't know what was available to us out there. And so we have been considering over the past few months joining many of our colleagues that are part of the Crawl Space Network and going to another form of streaming. Kelsi made it.
Yay! Wait, can you hear me?
Yes, you sound great.
Oh, yay! I did it.
Awesome. Yeah, I was like, I know this girl has a studio set up of her own. She'll figure it out. Like,
yeah, I was like, I got this. It was just like it kept doing this weird glitchy thing.
So, we saw you. Yeah, it was like flashing, like you were almost in, out, almost in.
Yeah,
out.
It was like, here you go. Just kidding. I was like, no.
Well, welcome. We're so happy to have you. I'll have to let you know that. So my daughter set up her REM pod beforehand, and when you were trying to get on, it started beeping.
Really?
So behind us right now. Yeah.
That's interesting. Maybe Lola made an appearance.
I know Lola's like, what? I heard my name.
Yeah, maybe.
So our audience loves the crossover with true crime and paranormal, and we know there's a ton of it. So we can't wait to talk all about that with you. But first, we just like to get to know you a little bit more and learn about your journey with realizing that you're a psychic medium, that you had these gifts. So can you talk a little bit about how you even came to learn about it and what it's been like for you so far?
Yeah. So my whole life, like I always knew I had something weird, like I would always I would walk into people's houses and I would know that things were in there, but no one would even I would ask my mom and I'd be like, do you feel that in there? Like, she'd be like, no, like, what are you talking about? So I always thought I was just a little bit different, which I am, but I didn't realize that I had gifts until later on, when it just started getting more profound and more to the point where I couldn't ignore it anymore. It would just be dreams of things that would happen, and then I would wake up with anxiety, and then it would happen that day, and I was like, I dreamed about this last night.
Wow.
And I didn't really share it with people because I thought people would think I'm nuts. I thought people were going to think I'm crazy or something. So I didn't really share it a whole lot, but I would say little things here and there, and people would be like, how'd you know that? Just weird things.
So how old were you when that started happening?
Yeah, so I want to say when I was around like 7 years old, I remember one of my first paranormal encounters with my grandpa, my great grandfather. I never met. He died before my mom was born, but I explained what he was wearing, his glasses, his watch, like his personality, everything to my grandpa, and he was like, "That's my dad. Like that's really weird." So like I started kind of really coming to be more open with it, and then I think it was like a year ago, I want to say, where I just started really doing readings and just trying to really, and get into my mediumship more and my psychic stuff. Like I just started sharing things more with people, and just it's been insane. Just crazy things have happened. So I'm really grateful, but it's very draining.
I can certainly imagine. Yeah. So, I mean, what was that like when you started sharing this with family? I mean, you said that there's gifts in your family history. Was that like put together two and two pretty quickly? Or was it like, oh, I think someone had something like that back then?
Right. So my mom knew like a bunch of stuff, but she didn't really like, I don't know, she didn't experience it firsthand with her ancestors. So she never really like thought of telling me, which I was like, I kind of wish she told me. But I guess it would be my grandpa's mother. She's the one who was the wife of the man I see all the time, Len. So his wife was actually, I guess, had really huge psychic medium gifts. And then her mother had like psychic gifts, would do tea leaf readings and like all this stuff. And I guess they would move a table across the room with like just weird things like that, like crazy things. And it's on the Native American side of my family. So then we asked my mom's cousin about some things, and she was like, yeah, like I knew when family members were going to die. I woke up, I knew, my dad was going to die that day. I woke up, I knew someone was going to die that day. Like she doesn't like her gifts. They're a little bit dark. So she never really like wanted to like, talk about it a lot, because it was kind of a sad thing that she had. Because death is like, there's a lot of death in my family, especially on that side, like young deaths. My grandpa is like the only one alive, and pretty much like all his siblings died, like everything. He's like the only one left. So it's pretty sad, but there's a lot of energy there.
Well, especially with a lot of trauma and tragic.
Right.
Yeah, very tragic.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're describing, it's the way you put it is so apt. If somebody's radar is set only for big traumatic events, if that's what your filter is, that's got to be a lot to carry. And you were speaking, it suddenly made I'm from the Deep South, where there's just an undercurrent of understanding that there is another level of perception, and people don't talk about it at all.
Right.
You just do not talk about it. And I remember my mother, in our family, my mother would always know when somebody was going to pass. Like she just always had a premonition. She never wanted to talk about it. She was very superstitious about it. Made her hyper vigilant about not doing certain things.
Gives you a lot of anxiety for sure. Like I have severe anxiety all the time. It's a lot. It's a lot for someone to handle.
It sounds like a burden. Yeah. I mean, a gift and a burden. It's double-edged sword, I guess.
Yeah, it's like it was such a burden my whole life. Like I was terrified of ghosts. That was I couldn't even say the word ghost out loud. Like I was terrified of them because I knew they were there. Like it wasn't something where I was like, I don't know, like if I believe in it. It was just like they're there, So it was something that I always struggled with and would always be like, very anxious about. And I would have them come to me in dreams, and I would have them show me how they died, like things they want me to go find, if they want me to go find their bones or something. Like it would just be very intense. So I just like, I don't know, I've tried to come into my own, tried to like embrace it rather than be afraid of it, which is what I've been trying to do.
Well, Kelsi, it sounds like you had to kind of find your way for the most part. Have you been able to find a mentor within the native population, or what's been your journey of finding how to pursue this path without being, not being harmed by it? Because it seems like there's got to be a mentor or somebody that helped you along the way, or at least I hope there was.
No, like I've been so alone during all this. So it's just something that I've had to figure out myself, asking family members, stuff like that. It's something that I've been so alone with. And I think that's why I chose to share it with the world, share it with everyone, because I know there's people out there like me that just feel so alone growing up. You can't say it. I was always the weird girl at school because I was feeling everyone's energy. Like I was just so anxious, so shy because of it. It just like was something I never understood because I didn't have a mentor. All my mentors were dead. Like, like it was just like, I wish I was able to have someone to go to and to ask and all that. So that's what I want to be, on my platform, is someone where people can watch and like relate to and have a safe space, a safe community to come to, where people don't say you're schizophrenic, you're crazy, like you're nuts, like it's just something that's been really challenging my whole life, because it is a different thing. Like it's just something they think it's the devil's work. They think that I'm, I need Jesus and all this stuff. And I'm like, it's not like that. Like it's not all negative. There's light and there's dark, and it's just something that I really, want to share with people. But I wish I could have a mentor one day that'll, really help.
Well, I remember years ago, many, many years ago, before I moved to LA, I was living in Chicago for a little while, and I had the great opportunity to meet with a woman who's still very famous named Sonia Choquette. And she came from a family that, like, this was just, of course, you're going to have these gifts. Everybody's had literally everybody in the family for generations has had them. So she had that. I remember her telling me the most valuable thing was having it realized so that she didn't feel it was crazy. And then being taught how to ground herself, how to be able to turn it on and off so that she goes, if I didn't know how to turn it on and off, I would be a raw nerve, just vibrating all the time because you're bombarded with everything around you. But it sounds like you sound like you're doing pretty good so far, like in finding this voice and finding this platform. It sounds like you're doing pretty good. Yeah,
it's been a journey. It's been a lot. I've met other mediums who they think they're better. They I've been bullied by other mediums. I've been, there's been a lot of like struggles and things like that. Like some of them think they know everything, but I truly believe no one will ever know everything. Even in the afterlife, they don't. Like anything. Like even in the afterlife, they don't seem to know everything. Like I ask them questions and they don't even know. So it's just like you can't sit and act like you know everything, because it's some things you just can't explain.
Well, that's a bummer too, because like we have these ideas of like, okay, I don't have the answers now, but that I know when I get on the other side, I'm going to have all the answers. And maybe it's just like another room. maybe there's a few more books on the shelves. It's like a whole other struggle. And it's just like, I've tried to help, some of them are just so confused. And I'm like, I don't know how to help you. Like, I'm sorry.
Well, what you're explaining is what I really like about your content, because it's, hey, here's like the fun, interesting stuff that happens to me, but also here's the part that like, sucks, or I can't sleep because these ghosts are having a conversation over me, or like, the anxiety that comes with it and sort of that. But also you're talking about this other layer, which, we are at a much smaller size than you and your content, but even we see once you start getting more information in front of more people, you have people that come out of the woodwork and want to tear it down. And really, like it happens in every industry and every profession, because we get the emails from people that think they know everything. And it's so funny because Scott and I constantly are like, we don't know everything. Like we have our niche, but we're constantly learning in our field of forensic psychology. Right. So it's that double-edged sword where it seems like a great outlet for you and to help other people that might have been in your shoes at some point, to find a friendly face that's going to be able to chat with them about it. But then you get the bad that comes with it too. But
people can be really aggressive.
They can. They're cruel. And Scott and I did an episode a couple months ago about the psychology of internet trolls and what's behind that, because it's just, and it's bad. Like their psychology is not a good thing for sure.
Right. It's just like, I know everyone goes through things, and everyone, like, you know, there was this one girl yesterday and she was just commenting hate on my page. And what I did was I went and DM'd her and I said, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "Honestly, I'm not very good," you know, like, and I was like,
Beautiful.
"Okay, so what you said on my page was very offensive to me, and I really don't appreciate that." And she was like, "I didn't mean to offend you. I'm really sorry." And I was like, "Well, why did you choose to come to my page and comment hate?" And she was like, "I honestly don't know," you know. And I was like,
Exactly.
do you need someone to talk to? Like, are you okay? Are you genuinely okay? Because if someone has that so much going on where they feel the need to go and make someone else feel like horrible,
Yeah.
there has to be something going on in their life, you know.
Absolutely.
And that's something that you just have to think about before like reacting and being like, "Oh, go off yourself," you know, being mean like that. It's just like, people could be going through that,
So thoughtless.
you know,
Yeah.
so much. Yeah, it's just a lot. Even if they're being horrible and hateful, it's like, dig into that, you know. Like everyone's going through something. It's just like something I've known, you know, my whole life. Just, I feel energy through photos. So whenever I'm going through Instagram, it's kind of draining because I get energy for everyone who's going through stuff. They look super happy in the photo, but I see it and I'm like,
You're like,
they're
nope.
not okay, you know. And sometimes I'll even DM them and be like, "Hey, are you all right?" You know, and they're like, "How did you know?" Like, it's just, it's a, you know, it's really cool to be able to see that, but it's hard because you know, it's like you want to look at the world as this like perfect place, but it's just so not. Everyone's going through something.
And as a personality, and you know, as that strange niche that some of us have, you know, start to inhabit, you have a huge following. You know, that's a strange place to inhabit, and then to try and figure out, well, what's my role here? I can't be everything to everybody. I'm here I'm here to do my thing. I've got a message. And it's incredibly draining to, I mean, that was really kind of you to reach out and gently challenge somebody on their behaviors. Unfortunately, there's, you know, 100,000 potential ones right behind them.
Right.
So,
I wish I could do it for everyone, but it's just like, sometimes I'll just go out of my way, you know, like I get curious. I'm just like, are you okay? Because, oh my gosh, what you just said was really horrible. Like, why did you even think of that?
Right.
Yeah. But it's such an interesting kind of way to confront it. And, you know, I think whatever your bandwidth is, like taking care of you too, you know, like Scott's saying, you want to help, and we want to help a lot to too. But at some time it's like, all right, again,
there's
like how do
only
I turn
so
this
much
down?
you can do.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to please everyone. Like, not everyone's going to agree with you, you know, and that's fine. But it's just like, keep an open mind. Like, everyone has their own opinions, respect everyone's opinions, and live life.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's actually, I was going to say, there's a man with me right now. I'm not sure if he's here for one of you.
Okay.
But he's in all black, and I just keep seeing him. I've never seen him before.
Oh, really?
He has like light gray hair, and he's slim. He's slim built, and he has like all black on, is what I keep noticing.
Huh.
So I know, I'm not sure if he's
tell us if you get anything more. We have,
I will.
Yeah.
You can see that we have people that are here in our virtual room with us too. So,
I wonder. Yeah.
Keep us posted.
Is it Johnny Cash? I don't think so.
That would be amazing.
That'd be kind of cool.
I know.
You know, we did want to talk to you about like connecting this to our most recent episode. Last week, we discussed all of the story behind the Devil's Gate Dam murders. There were 4 murders of children associated with that area. But when you sort of dig deeper into the history, only one, Tommy Bowman, went missing on the actual trail. The others were killed up the mountain or several miles away. However, most of these killings and several more were linked to a man named Mac Ray Edwards, a married father who worked on the construction of the LA freeway system in the 1950s through the 70s.
Yes,
and ultimately, he was the one that ended up confessing to the crimes after a captive girl escaped.
Right. And he was only convicted of not all the ones he said. So there's a bunch that were like unknown, you know, because I don't think they ever found the remains. That place just seems like a portal for people like to go, like darkness. There's a lot of, you know, rituals that have been done there. There's a lot of dark energy there. And it was just, there was a lot that happened with that.
Well, can you tell us about your experience? Because I shared with our listeners that, you know, my daughter is a huge fan of yours, and you were talking about this story because we're watching it together, and I'm like, I know this story, and that would be a great one for me to research for this episode. But can you tell us just initially who came to you first, and how did this sort of unfold for you related to Devil's Gate?
Yes. So I was sleeping. I had just moved here like a few months ago, you know, like I had moved here in January. So it was like I wasn't here for very long. And I knew like that this was a really old historic area, but I didn't know anything about the Devil's Dam. I knew like some YouTubers would go there, that it was super haunted, you know, that's all I knew. So I was sleeping one night and spirits come to me in my dreams very often. So I had this super strange dream. Like there was this woman there. She was like this older woman, but she was it was like she was flaunting. Like she was like, I killed all these people, you know, like I got away with it. Just like being very, very aggressive. And I was like, what the heck? Like, who is this? So she showed me like these specific tunnels. Like she showed me these tunnels and I kept seeing water. Like she kept showing me water. They show me specific things that are kind of symbols for whatever she's showing me. There was like this big pole that you could like stand on top of and look down. So it was like very confusing. And then when I followed her into the tunnel, it was just, it was so dark. And it was something like I woke up sweating from this, you know, it was something that was just so dark and so specific. She showed me there were like these heads, these human heads that came floating in the water to me, and I like could see them, you know, they're everything, like they looked older to me. There was like a girl, there were a few guys, and like it was just so specific. And I woke up and I was like, what the heck? Like that was way too specific for me. So then I did a session and I got her name, and she kept calling herself Val. She kept saying Val. I don't know what Val's short for, or if she was just like a demonic entity calling herself Val, saying like trying to scare me or something. So we decided to investigate. And I was with my friend Ashley, and Ashley was sitting in front of my door looking up. Like we were trying to find places that would match what I saw, because I knew it happened around this area. I just knew. And the door, my sliding door, like flew open. Like it was like someone came in. So she experienced it too. There was like a lot of things that happened. I can't even like remember part of them because things just happen every day. But so we were researching and we found this video. I think it was Oddity or something. They're like a YouTube couple. And they went to the Devil's Dam, and I was like looking at the video and stuff, and things just matched up to what I saw in my dream. And I was like, this looks very similar, like the running water, that signifies the dam, you know, looking down, signifying, you know, that. And there was the tunnel. So I was like, this has to be it, you know, like this is so strange. So we wanted to go explore it. And on our way there, we didn't even type in directions. I just started driving, and I was driving towards the Devil's Dam. Wow. And I didn't even know where it was. Like it was just so weird. Then we put in the directions and it was like, yeah, keep going straight, you know, like
you're on the right path.
Yeah, you're on the right path. So we were like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like it was just insane. So we went there and we used like the spirit box, and it was giving us directions. It was like turn right, you know, it was like telling us to go to where the tunnel was, where I guess they actually did There was something with Scientology leader who did like rituals in there and like weird things like that. And there's like a bunch of, you know, pentagrams and just darkness in there. There was actually an explosion or something too, I read. I didn't know any of this. But then it was so strange because we looked up the photo and it was the photo of all the kids that went missing around that whole area.
Yeah.
And it was so strange because it was just their heads in the photo.
True.
Yeah. So I was in the order, it was just strange because it almost looked like what she had shown me, but the heads in my dream were older. It was like the age they were supposed to be. So it was just so strange to me. And then we did all that research. And then later on, it was like weeks later, this man came to me and he was like in his 60s or something like that. And he referred to himself as Bruce. And I looked up, you know, like that because I felt the relation. And there was a kid that went missing or something going to YMCA camp named Bruce. He would have been like 60 years old or something at this time.
So can you talk about how they present to you at times at different ages? Yeah.
So it depends, honestly. Sometimes like with him, I believe he was presenting me of the age he was supposed to be. So like I've had, you know, like this woman, I was at a doctor's office and she was asking me about my gifts. And I was like, there's actually a woman with you. And I want to say she's like 63 or 62, you know, and she was like, I like explained her and everything. And I was talking about a hummingbird and all this stuff. And she had a hummingbird tattoo on her and it was her mother. And that weekend, it would have been like her 62nd birthday. So it's like, sometimes it's like the age they're supposed to be, or I guess the age when they were the happiest is what I've heard very often and I've experienced, or it'll be, I don't know. Sometimes they present themselves as children for whatever reason. I don't know if it's like to signify something. Sometimes I'm not really sure. But the way like Val presenting herself to me was so weird. I almost felt like maybe she knew someone who was like, what if she knew Mac Ray or what was his name? Mac Ray Edwards, right? I was like, what if she had some sort of, I don't know. But it was just so specific, like so strange to me. And then doing all that research, it was just like mind blowing.
Well, she sounds like a very horrific person, just being, you know, bragging about getting away with all of these murders. And, you know, what's so interesting is when we started digging into this, the REM pod just went off, by the way, that when we started digging into this, Mac Ray Edwards would say on certain crimes that he had an accomplice, but he would, at one time he said, oh, his name is Billy the Cripple. Like he would just kind of make up a name.
Right.
And he did have an accomplice in his very last kidnapping where one of the girls escaped and then he turned himself in. But there's no mention in any of the records or newspaper articles of who that accomplice was. It's just like, we were trying to theorize, like, maybe was the accomplice like a young teen and he was getting people to like help lure children?
Or a woman, you know, because children trust women. So
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And
that's crazy.
You know, there was kind of that issue, but then I thought, well, okay, well, with Bruce specifically, you know, Mac Ray Edwards never admitted to his murder, even though I think he could be good for it because it's kind of the same area just up the mountain. But what if it wasn't? And what if it is a female serial killer of children, essentially?
Yeah, like it was just weird because she kept saying like, I got away with it. They never caught me, like was super like happy about it, like giggling, you know, like super like just, it was so uncomfortable. And it's so weird because I didn't know anyone went missing in that area. It was just so like bizarre, you know, like even though I do have my gifts and I experience things, some things just blow my mind sometimes. Like researching that, you see me in the video, like I even hit a curb. I was all like just flustered that day. Like it was just like so much for me. And my friend was just like, this is crazy. Like, and this isn't the first time stuff like this has happened, you know, like this is just my life.
Yeah. So has Val left you alone now? Cause I know you really wanted to kind of get rid of her because she was being nasty and
she has not come back. So whatever she wanted me to do, I mean, I did. And I think she just wanted to show me where she did her dirty work is what I felt like. I think she just wanted me to go there and experience it and be scared. And I went.
Yeah. Yeah, you sure did.
But even when we were there at night. It was really hard to get down there. Like we had to climb like this 20-foot gate and squeeze through. It was very difficult. I had bruises. It was a lot. But when we went there, it was really crazy because there was all these pentagrams and these doors that were like the dam doors. So water would have run through that tunnel, the exact tunnel we were in. There were these doors, you know, so, and there was like water near the entrance where we were. Yeah. So it was just very possible that that could have been the exact tunnel she maybe did things in. Like, and it's so secluded too. It's just a very weird area. Like we even came across like someone who was lost. They were disabled and they were lost and we had to call the police and help them. And it was just, it's an area where, you know, there's just a lot of interesting things drawn to, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you, when things like this happen, do you find it really interesting to kind of learn the history behind it and do some of that digging research yourself?
I love history. So like, just like, it's so weird because when I go places, I don't want to look at the history till after usually because I like to be mind blown. It's just like something where it's like when I'm editing, I'm like, guys, like, what the heck? This is crazy. And my jaw drops. Like, I'll have my boyfriend, I'll be like, Drew, look at what I found. And I said this right here. And like, just craziness. So it's almost like a thrill, like to test my gifts, you know?
Yeah,
like, 'cause I'll be off about some things. Like, I'm still coming into my gifts. But when I'm on, and it's insane.
Yeah. Well, that's some of my favorite stuff is just like watching where you go and these historic places. And, you know, my kid wants to drag us to all these places too. And I'm like, I'm the skeptic. Scott's not the skeptic. I'm the skeptic, but I'm still like, I don't know.
Right. You're like, if it is, I mean, it's,
We'll
insane.
go for the day. I'm not spending the night in anywhere.
Yeah, my boyfriend was a skeptic.
We will. We're going to be staying. The Lizzie Borden house is now an Airbnb. So eventually I'm going to drag Dr. Shiloh for an overnighter at Lizzie Borden's house. Oh, man.
I've been wanting to go there.
How cool would that be? But Kelsi, I did want to ask you, like, you know, following up on your experience, you know, you described really beautifully about what it's like when you get information via dreams. So that seems like very vivid, very sort of almost easier to process than things you might get in the spur of the moment, like the person who's standing near you right now.
Yes.
Do you, you know, in using some of the terms that I'm familiar with, like clairsentience, clairaudience, clairvoyance, do you hear voices? And when you're able to get auditory messages, are they clear or does it matter from entity to entity? Can you give us a little bit of your experience in that area?
Yeah, so it depends honestly on, like, some of them are not as strong as others. I don't know how that works. You know, I don't know why some of them are able to do things when others aren't. But a lot of the times I will hear them like a voice and I'll flinch, you know, and I'll ask my friend, did you say something? And they're like, no, like I didn't say anything. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, but they know it's normal. So I do have that. I do hear things that people don't a lot of the times, but it's not always super clear. So when it's not clear, they'll send me visions of things. Like, names are very hard when they send me because they're trying to show me a name, and that's very difficult for them. Sometimes, like, I guess one of the most prominent names I got was Jay Porter, and he showed me his little, you know, name tag on his Marine outfit because he was, or his uniform, not outfit, his like military uniform, you know, he showed me Jay Porter. So it was very clear to me, and I was like, Jay Porter, you know. Like with Bruce, I believe it was, I think I heard him during that one. So that was a little more prominent, but sometimes I don't hear it clear. So I'm kind of like Bruce, like I'm not sure if it's that, like with my boyfriend's grandpa came to me, and he was a skeptic before he met me. Now he's a full believer. It's funny. But his grandpa came to me, and I knew the first letter. I kept hearing something with an R. So I was like, Grandpa R, it starts with an R, can't get it. And he was like, okay, explain him more. Then I explained him that he was, in the Air Force, and like he had all of these medals, and I was explaining all this, his heart pacemaker. He was like, Grandpa Rice. I was like, oh, okay, Grandpa Rice. So sometimes it's difficult, but I don't know if it's clairaudience that's mainly what I have, but I do, like, I get visions a lot. Like, I space out very often.
Yeah.
So I'll just be staring, and my friends are like, she's in something right now. So it's like that, or I'll see spirits very quickly like people. And it's, almost shocking, because when I see them like a person, it's pretty rare for me to see them in that form like that. So I'm just like, whoa, usually it's visions of what they look like, where they're standing, stuff like that.
Wow. Thank you for explaining that, because I think for some of us,
it's so hard to explain sometimes.
To wrap your head around. And why would you think Rice is someone's name? Like, of course that would be hard to
Right. I was like, I eat rice.
Right. You're like, yeah, this ghost really loves rice. So
yeah, there was this woman from the Titanic, and she showed me my sage. So I thought I needed to sage, but I found out later it was her last name was Sage.
Wow.
So it gets confusing.
Yeah, of course. But the symbolism, I guess they're trying to be as creative as they can be.
They do.
So you've been doing another little series lately about some crimes in the area that have to do with these catacombs.
Yes.
How has that been? Can you tell us a little bit about that? And what came first again? Did you just start meeting ghosts and then kind of, okay, what is this about?
Yeah. So I knew my apartment was super haunted. Like, I already knew that. I thought it was because I live in Old Town. So it's a super historic town. This apartment complex is pretty old itself, but I know there was something here before that, it's just old. So I had this little girl come to me, and her name was Sarah. I figured out she was 7 years old, and I kept hearing banging on my walls. I thought someone was doing construction, it was loud banging. And I was like, what is this? Where is this coming from? So I started doing a session with her, and we got some information. I saw her in this little white dress, and she had long, blonde, dark blonde, dirty blonde hair. And she kept just saying she was stuck and all this stuff. There was this whole session I did with her, and she kept mentioning a bank. So I was very confused. I was like, why is she banging on things? Why is she saying she was stuck? She kept blaming someone for something. It was just very confusing. And I was like, what happened here? So all I do is sometimes I'll just Google things just to see what comes up. And I Googled, I think it was Sarah, 7 years old, Pasadena Bank is what I typed in. And I did, I was scrolling through trying to find some things, and I found this one article. I press on it, and it has a photo of her, and I was like, that's her. That looks so similar to what I'm seeing, very, very spot on. So I got intrigued. I started reading through the article, and it turns out that there's old Spanish catacombs underneath this entire city that I live in, and no one's allowed in them. It's, very shut off, very hush hush. You ask people, and they're, of the city and stuff, they're very hush hush about it. So then I, got my friend Ashley, because she knows she knows the drill. I'm like, Ashley, we're going to figure this out.
We're going to another tunnel.
Yeah. So I read it on there, and it said that this girl named Sarah Windsor, she died at 7 years old. She was trapped in a bank vault underneath the bank that her dad was the president of. Mm-hmm. And I was like, the banging, that, it just all made sense. So then I dragged my friend Ashley over there. We walked over to what used to be the bank. It's now an AT&T. Mm-hmm. And we were walking around because we heard that you're able to get into part of where she died. You're able to get down there in some way. And we found it's called the bunker experience. It's an escape room now. So they made it into a creepy escape room. So I emailed the owner. I showed her my story, you know, I sent the YouTube link and everything. And she was like, I have had experiences with banging on walls, with weird things down here. Like, yes, you can come, you know, like come down here. So we
Wow.
went, this video hasn't been posted yet, so it's sneak peek, but we
Cool.
went down there, we talked to Sarah, we figured out there's a lot of spirits down there, and apparently throughout these catacombs, there were like at least 36 human remains found scattered
Right.
throughout. So there's a lot of energy down there, and the entrance to the catacombs is down there where we
Yeah.
went. Like you can see, like they built bricks over where you can get in. So we are very like, it was just insane. So that's something I'm still, you know, looking into because that was just very interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty infamous in the Pasadena area, and they used to have like a Halloween experience where you could go down
I
there.
saw that. I did. Yeah.
But yeah, they turned it into this escape room, and like you said, there was a mission in the area, and then they had all of these remains from that time. But also, I had done some research that there was a bank robbery where the bank robbers, I think they were going to try and escape through the tunnels, but they never like found them, as if they kind of got lost down there or something.
So they went into a vault, they blew open a hole, which they still have the hole. I saw it.
Oh, wow.
Saw the hole where they crawled through, they went into the catacombs, and people believe that they never made it out. So we did have a few people come that I believe may have been one of the bank robbers.
Well, everybody, is just make sure you are keeping tabs on Kelsi's YouTube channel so you know the end of how this goes once she finishes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Always crazy.
I bet. Well, it's like endless content for you, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I love that, you know, it is also very visual because you can do a session and, you know, show people how that goes, but also going to these locations and doing the research and just like experiencing that stuff is very cool. So I'm glad people have been open to you and letting you come to their places.
Yeah, most of them are very open because they experience things, and I'll tell them what I see, and they're like, I thought I was crazy, but I literally saw what you just explained. Like, you know, so I've made a really good connections with people who own a lot of haunted places, you know.
That's
so
great.
Yeah, just because I could relate, you know, they're like, wait, I'm not crazy. I'm like, no.
Very cool. Well, I know, you know, you are also a very proud member of the queer community, and this is Pride Month, and we actually have an episode coming out next week looking at the history of laws and psychology when it comes to homosexuality and everything else across the board. But I wanted to ask you, like, how important is that for you to make that part of your platform? Again, probably in the same vein of if there are other young people out there that haven't had support in that way.
Yeah. I feel like, you know, be who you are. If, you know, people are like, oh, being gay is a choice or being, you know, whatever. I'm like, it's something that you just feel. It's something that you can't help. Like I don't know, for me, it's always been about energy and the way I connect with people in depths. You know, ever since I was little, I wouldn't associate people I liked with like their gender. I wasn't just like, oh, they're a girl, I like them. They're a boy, I like them. It was just like, they're a good person and I like their energy and their aura, and I really like that. So that's why I identify as pansexual. It's just like, I genuinely just like, you know, people, their energy. Like there's certain energies that I'm attracted to, and it's just so important to always be yourself and not hide behind, you know, what people say you should be. Like I can tell you this, you know, just from my experience, like you're not going to hell if you're gay. You know, like I've had a lot of gay spirits come to me that are just like so happy and just in this blissful state, just so happy. And it's so silly just that people even think that, because I'm like, that's not how it works. You know, that's
Well,
just,
we're up there redecorating everything. So clearly,
Up there, wherever up there is.
or out there. I wanted to say, Kelsi, really wanted to thank you because you gave a metaphor at the beginning of your experience, which I think aligns with us in the LGBTQIA plus community, where about your own experience as a young person having access to a layer of experience that other people don't, which is very much the queer experience.
Yes.
So
yes.
your experience of energy, your experience of knowing that you are different and not being sure of who you can share that with. Is it okay? Will I be judged? That is exactly the queer experience. And it has always been that way. And it probably will continue to be that way as we evolve as a society. But I love that, in my experience, and like Shiloh is still a good bit more skeptical than I am. I am more skeptical than I used to be, but I have had experiences that I cannot deny, and I'm curious and I want to know more. But one of the things that I have always found in talking to researchers, people who claim to be clairsentient, clairaudient, clairvoyant, whatever, I've not found a single homophobic psychic ever.
Right.
Every one of them is hooked into exactly what you just said. It's all energy, which very much in alignment with the native belief of the two-spirit individuals. Like the natives knew about this a long time ago. We knew about it in medieval times and ancient times. Somehow we lost our way, and we need to get back to just the understanding that energy is energy is love is love, and that's all there is.
Right. You attract the energy you put out, and energy, doesn't have a gender. Souls, they don't have a gender. That's just a given thing. It's, you're born with, certain parts, whatever, but your gender is who you are, the energy you put out, what you feel. It's just like, it's just so weird how society just separated it and made it a certain way that we have to follow. Otherwise, it's weird. It's like, who even made that? What? Even in animals and insects, some animals prefer the same sex. Like they just do. It's just part of nature. It's just part of whatever they want, whatever that individual animal or person, whatever they feel they are attracted to. It's something you can't just change. Like it's not something you can just, we've got so much evidence. I mean, biologically throughout the animal kingdom, we have animals that switch genders depending on what's needed in order for survival. I mean, and some have no gender. Some are literally have no gender. And it's so interesting, because it's literally part of it's just how we are on Earth. It's part of how we're like, if God created animals to be gay or like to have, not preferences or anything like that, like why would it all of a sudden be an issue for us, like to have that? It's just so weird to me. Like
that's what we do. That's what humans do, is we make an issue out of things that really don't need to be made an issue out of. Yes, like in being a psychic medium and being part of LGBTQ, I get so much hate. Oh my gosh, it's just like you're going to hell. Like you need
for all sorts of reasons.
Everything. Like I can't make anyone happy, but it's just like as long as you're happy and you're spreading good energy into the world, that's all that matters, honestly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we're all going to be in great company in the afterworld. If I end up down there with all the people that they say are going to be down there, I'll be quite happy. It's going to be wonderful.
I'd rather be there than with honestly, if put me down there, if that's how it is, I'd rather be here.
Yeah, it sounds a lot more fun. My people will be there.
Right? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Well, we just really appreciate you taking this time to talk with us, and we still have a few minutes left, but before we get any further, Shiloh and I definitely, will you please let us know where people can find you, how they can follow you? Tell us everything.
Yeah, so I have TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, which is Kelsi Davies with 2 I's and 2 S's. Like I have right there. It's just KELSIIDAVIESS. And then I have my YouTube, which is just Kelsi Davies. If you type it in the same way, I think it'll probably come up. And then I have a podcast called Intoxicated. So I also have a podcast.
I love it.
I get really, really high, and I talk about ghosts and conspiracies and
Love
all
it.
that, you know.
You have guests come on your show?
I do. Yep. I have guests. I have, you know, a lot of stories, people that come with me to haunted places. And, you know, I've had a lot of like LGBTQ plus guests, and it's a good time. You know, we just hang out and talk about stuff while we're high or drunk. So
There you go. There you go.
That sounds like a blast.
it's a blast.
The double entendre works perfectly for a podcast title.
You're right.
Well, thank you so much again for your time,
Thank
Kelsi,
you.
and for agreeing
Thank
to
you guys
do
so
this.
much.
I mean, just from me, like
Yeah.
reaching out on Instagram, I think that's so sweet of you. And
Of course.
yeah, we just, you know, we even did an episode on the paranormal and paranormal crimes, and you know, everybody just eats this up. I think if you're a true crime person, you're a paranormal person, and
Yes.
they're cousins. So
Right. Literally. I just went to the Cecil Hotel, so that was interesting too.
yes, I work. Scott and I both work downtown LA, and so we've been trying to get in there for years, and now I know it's a little bit more accessible because they have people living there.
Yeah, I have a contact, but
Got it.
it's you know, it's a little sketchy getting in there, but it's still it's crazy. It's just insane.
Well, that's got to be a completely overwhelming amount of energy. There's been a lot of shit going on in there.
Oh my God. It wasn't as dark as I thought it would be. It was more sad and tragic. Like it wasn't like I thought it was going to be super scary and like demons and, you know, all that. But it was more just tragedy and sadness. And, you know, like you literally hear a woman like sobbing in the background of my video. None of us heard that in person. And it was just her sobbing. Like, and I caught it on camera and I was like, oh my gosh, like she was distraught, you know? So it was that energy in there, and it was really, really sad.
And that video's up on YouTube already, right?
It is. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
great.
I went with my friends. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Definitely check it out for sure.
It was crazy.
Well, again, thank you so much.
Thank
Hang
you.
around for a second because I just want to introduce you to someone real quick, but I'm going to stop the broadcast. Thank you everyone for joining us on Get Vocal. Like I said, we have our Pride themed episode coming out next week. And then the 4th week of this month will be our first true crime documentary review episode. And I just posted today that we watched the documentary, The Phantom. So if you guys want to watch it before we spoil everything for you and talk all about it, then go ahead and do that. So thanks everyone for being here. Big thanks to Kelsi again. And we'll see you guys next time. Oh, the REM pod is like going crazy right now.
Wow.
How funny.